7th of November 2025, and we've reached chapter Adi-lila chapter 17, and we're continuing with our reading today. So, broadcasting from Radha Kund today. So, Gurave Gauda Chandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tara Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Sri Caitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Priya Sarupe, Dayata Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajavi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Karunai Bharatano Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Dikatam Basatipita Sadakridare Kandareves Bratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Petikrityam Dvai Paino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Matayo Tarabo Vinidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munamanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Taranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tatoma Manastikatina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignai Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering all my Dandavat pranams to our dearmost Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami and all our divine Rupanuga Guru Varg. My Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we've come through to almost the end of this Adi-lila. We've come through many topics. The spiritual masters was the first topic to establish, and then we came through Krishna being substantiated as that Supreme Lord, and then the external reasons in chapter 3 for Mahaprabhu's advent. These are very important stepping stones to enter the heart of Mahaprabhu, to empathize with Mahaprabhu, to make Mahaprabhu our own Mahaprabhu. We have to have that mood. Mahaprabhu is mine, right? So we want to know everything about Mahaprabhu. So the external reasons why he came, Advaita Acharya, and to give the holy name. And then the fourth chapter, most important. And I've just heard today that we're going to be translating this into Slovenian language for distribution. So this will be very wonderful. This fourth chapter, the confidential reasons for the Mahaprabhu to taste the speciality of Radha's prem. Her prem is so high. She's loving the object. Krishna is the object of prem. He's receiving whatever wealth the object deserves. That's how it's described. Whatever wealth comes from the worship. But the highest bliss is experienced by the worshipper. That's the ashraya. So Mahaprabhu wants to taste that. Everything. So this is in the fourth chapter. It's like the heartbeat of this Adi-lila. And then we have the glories of Nityananda Balaram. And then we have the glories of Advaita Acharya, understanding these two magnificent personalities, because this represents the Panchatattva, which is what we are being introduced to. This Caitanya Caritamrta is giving us absolutely the full package of Mahaprabhu, all his deepest teachings, and in such sweet language. Srila Krishna's Kaviraj, he's already given us the Govinda Lilamrita, with the sweetest conceptions of the Adi-lila throughout the eightfold pastimes of the day. And now he's applying that same beautiful mood to this Caitanya Caritamrta. And then the seventh chapter is Mahaprabhu in 5 features, which basically is going to Varanasi and dealing with Prabodhananda Saraswati and those 60,000 Mayavadi sannyasis and purifying them. This is a tremendous chapter. And then number 8, Krishna Das Kaviraj is expressing why he's writing this. It's a very personal chapter, chapter 8. He also describes in his own home how he argued with his brother, chastised his brother when Abhiram Das Thakur came to their house. No, Mini Caitanya Ramdas came to the house and became disturbed with the Gunanava. The pujari was not offering respect, and he broke his flute. And Krishna's Kaviraj's younger brother Shamananda, or Sham, I think his name, Sham, he supported the pujari, and Krishna's Kaviraj became very angry with him and left home at an early age, in his late teens, and then came to Radha Kund, instructed directly by Nityananda Prabhu. It was Nityananda's mercy that chariot in his dream came to the door, and it had a palm frond on the flag, which signifies Baladev. And then he immediately goes to Radha Kund, where he associates with Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami and Raghunath Das. This is the weight of what he's giving us now, this association. Everything in our practice depends on our association, because it's all being channeled down, so to speak, originally. Rupa Goswami was connecting with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was giving him everything in Prayag, and then filling that in his second visit to Mahaprabhu in Puri, and describing, we've already described that so many times, that first chapter of Antya-lila. And that's a very beautiful expression of the relationship between Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami. So we're getting that. And Krishnadas Kaviraj is giving us that on these pages. And then 9, 10 is the trunk and all the branches of Mahaprabhu. This is really enlightening chapters, because we're seeing the eternal parikas. They're all Nitya Siddha parikas that accompany Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is Krishna directly, so wherever Krishna is coming in his incarnation, all his associates come with him. So for us to appreciate this is very important, to give the full regard for who is Mahaprabhu with all his associates. Because even amongst devotees, because Mahaprabhu is not overtly demonstrating his Bhagavata, his Godhead. He's the covered, confidential devotee, not even wearing a peacock feather, anything like that. And in his first 22, 23 years, he's acting like a very arrogant scholar, Nimai Pandit, defeating all the devotees, chasing them in the streets and arguing with them, etc. So this is all described in this the tree of devotional service and the trunk. And then 11 are the expansions of Lord Nityananda, and 12 are the expansions of Advaita Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit. So it's helpful for us to hear these again and again, to see the flow that is coming through from this Adi-lila. Just like when we study Srimad Bhagavatam, we have many students of Bhagavatam, and I'm always making them reiterate, go over the previous chapters, because we don't want to reach the 10th canto and we forget what the other 9 cantos were about. So we're constantly refreshing to keep all the other topics alive, because those other topics are what culminate in the present topic being discussed. It's building, it's definitely building conceptions throughout. And then now we go into the Leela in the 13th chapter. Now we come into the advent of Mahaprabhu, his birth, and Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur dancing ecstatically, and the whole of Navadvip saying Hari Bol, Hari Bol. It's a lunar eclipse, and nobody's quite sure why everyone is so jubilant. But this is the day, this is Gaur Punim, this is the day Mahaprabhu advents. So this Advent is described in the 13th chapter. And the 14th chapter is his pastimes as a child. And then 15th chapter is his Poganda age from 6 and 7. And then 16th is the pastimes of his marriage with Lakshmi Priya and Vishnu Priya. So these marriages are described very opulently by Vrindavan Das Thakur. But still, Krishnadas Kaviraj, for sequence and consistency's sake, he describes all this. So there's a whole storyline here. It's not just like a dry shastra or anything like that. It's full of ras and juice, and it's carrying us on waves of evolving realizations and understanding and appreciations of the quality and nature and personality of Mahaprabhu. So we can enter into a relationship with Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is the Yuga avatar, and the Yuga Dharma we are practicing, so we must have this relationship shored up. And now in this 17th chapter, we've just concluded the ecstatic pastimes of his purifying the Chandkazi. I mean, this is really an ecstatic pastime, actually. And this is really opened up by Vrindavan Das Thakur. But nevertheless, Krishnadas Kaviraj describes the essence of it. But now we're almost concluding this 17th chapter with the beautiful description that Srivas Thakur is giving of Vrindavan Dham itself. Now we're coming into a whole relish of the real picture, you can say, of Vrindavan. Because Mahaprabhu wants to taste the ecstasy of Sri Radhika when she's in Vrindavan in her pastimes with Krishna. So the Vrindavan pastimes are essential to hear, to understand the nature of Mahaprabhu's desires, his heart. He wants to taste this. So now the last verse was 233, and I'll just read the translation. In ecstasy, the Lord asked Srivas Thakur to deliver his flute. But Srivas Thakur replied, "Your flute has been stolen away by the gopis." So this opens a whole door. All of a sudden, we're deep in the Braj Leelas. This is actually the Rasa Leela. This is part of the Rasa Leela. Rasa Leela is not just the dancing. It's the drinking honey mead, honey wine, and the gambling and bathing in Jamuna, and Krishna consorting with all the other gopis, the principal gopis. It's so many pastimes within the Rasa Leela context. So this Srivas Thakur, he's just opened a huge door. He's just introduced Rasa Leela. So Mahaprabhu has become ecstatic. This is the topic he wants to think about. This is the mood he wants to come in. So now we come to verse 234.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Suni Prabhu Bala Bala Balena Avesh Srivas Varnena Vrindavana Lila Rase.
Hearing this reply, the Lord said in ecstasy, "Go on talking, go on talking." Thus Srivas described the transcendental mellows of the pastimes of Sri Vrindavan. So we're getting this in the Adi-lila. So we're getting our focus, our attention. Where are we going here? We're going to Vrindavan through the medium of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is our process. Mahaprabhu will take us to Vrindavan. He will take us to Braja Prem, which has never been given before to the conditioned jivas. When Krishna was here 5,000 years ago, there was no access to Vrindavan. Not even for the Dwarkavasis, Mathuravasis. Queen Kunti had no idea, actually, the nature and speciality of Vrindavan. So these are the very confidential moods and topics we're coming into straight away. So text 235.
Pratameta Vrindavana Madhurya Varnila Suniya Prabhu Chitte Ananda Badila.
Translation. In the beginning, Srivas Thakur described the transcendental sweetness of Vrindavan's pastimes. Hearing this, the Lord felt great and increasing jubilation in his heart. This is where the Lord wants to dwell, and where he wants us to dwell also. Text 236.
Tabe bala bala Prabhu bale vara vara. Puna puna kahe Srivas Korea Vistara.
Translation. Thereafter, the Lord again and again asked him, speak on, speak on. Thus, Srivas again and again described the pastimes of Vrindavan, vividly expanding them. So Krishna's Kaviraj is hearing this directly from Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. He's hearing this reiteration of the conversation, because this is taking place still in Navadvip. We haven't yet gone to Puri. He hasn't yet taken. At the end of this chapter, he takes the sannyas vesh. But up until this point, everything is escalating. So also the pastimes of Vrindavan are escalating. We're hearing now about direct stealing the flute, Rasa-lila, etc. Text 237. Vamsi vadye gopi ganare vane akarshana tan sabara sange yache vana viharana. Translation. Srivas Thakur extensively explained how the gopis were attracted to the forests of Vrindavan by the vibration of Krishna's flute, and how they wandered together in the forest. These are the Vrindavan pastimes. 238.
Tahe madhya chaya ritu lirara vanana madhumpana raso swara jala keli katana.
Translation. Srivas Pandit narrated all the pastimes enacted during the 6 changing seasons. He described the drinking of honey, the celebration of the Ras dance, the swimming in the Jamuna, and other such incidents. These 6 seasons, they manifest in different forests at the same time, simultaneously. We've described before, Vrindadevi. She orchestrates all the Lakshmis of the season, the seasonal goddesses, they come and they request Vrindadevi, where shall we go today? Vrindadevi says, oh, you summer season, go in Radhakund. Oh, you winter season, go in Bahulavan. Oh, you spring season, you go in Kamyavan. And she distributes all the seasons. So all the seasons are manifesting simultaneously throughout the day. So Radha and Krishna's pastimes are so much variegated. I can't imagine. It's just so beautiful. I mean, everything to the extreme is being manifested for Krishna and Radha's pleasure. Because we know ourselves, we experience, we all become very happy when the spring season starts. We're kind of a bit bored with it by the time it comes to the end. And we're in anticipation for the summer season. And we're happy when the summer season comes, but after a little while, oh my God, I wish the summer season would go and the autumn season would come, and so on like that, you know. But these seasonal experiences just in pockets for a couple of hours are so enlivening for their pastimes, because they have to have different clothes, for example, in the winter season. Gopis are there with little leaf jackets stitched together for them, and there's a briskness in the air, and the trees and flowers, etc., are manifest in a different way. So these Srivas is speaking about all of these things. This covers a huge amount of moods and topics. This is one verse alone, describing all the different changing seasons, drinking honey, celebrating the Ras dance, the swimming in the Jamuna, and other such incidents. Text 239.
Bala bala bale Prabhu sunite ulas Srivas kahina tahe rasa rasera vilas.
Translation. When the Lord, hearing with great pleasure, said, go on speaking, go on speaking, Srivas Thakur described the Rasa-lila dance, which is filled with transcendental mellows. So how is Srivas Thakur able to describe the Rasa-lila dance? Because he's reflecting from the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just like Rai Ramananda, Vishaka. He also was able to reflect from the heart of Mahaprabhu these pastimes. Srivas Thakur, if we consider it historically, would have had no real access to knowing about the Rasa-lila. Who was broadcasting the Rasa-lila? Jayadev Goswami had written something, what, in the 13th, 12th century, something? But there was no bhav, no idea of Parakiya Ras that Jayadev Goswami. It was only after Madhavendra Puri. So where did Srivas Thakur? Srivas Thakur is eternal Nityasiddha Parikar. He's eternal. Actually, he has four forms. Srivas Thakur is an amazing personality. Who are those four forms? Narad, Madhu Mangal, and Naradiya. He has four swarups. He's one of the only persons who has four swarups. Who else has four? Because Madhu Mangal is a complete different swarup. This comes out in the Hira Panchami pastimes in Puri, when Swarup Damodar starts glorifying Vrindavan, and Srivas Thakur, he more or less rubbishes Vrindavan. He says, what is this about trees and cows and flowers? This is nothing compared to the jewels of Dwarka, my Dwarka. He's in a mood of Narada Muni. And then Swarup Damodar, he says a little bit more, then something changes. And it's almost like Srivas becomes influenced by Madhu Mangal. And then he realizes that the cows, they're not just ordinary cows, they're Kamandenu cows. And the flowers, they're like Chintamani. And the, what else? There's three of them I was mentioning. The Kamandenu, the flowers, and what was the other one? I said three of them. Kamandenu, flowers, and the trees, the Kalpavriksha trees. You're not listening. I'm speaking fast, perhaps. But if you know these topics already, then they'll be easier to assimilate. But the trees, the flowers, and Kamandenu cows, right? Okay, yes. They're not ordinary. The cows, they can deliver anything. The Chintamani flowers, they can deliver anything. So the opulence of Vrindavan is extreme. So we get this pastime in Hira Panchami, again, Srivas Thakur. So Srivas Thakur, very important personality. And that mood is coming out now in the latest section of this Adi-lila 17. Try to remember these parts in the Caitanya Caritamrta as we're reading it through. So later on, if you want to bring in some topic, then you remember where it can be referenced, you know? Like in our Bhagavatam, we want to know where these places are, not just a big blob of all different, not stitched together conceptions. We want the whole string. It's there if we choose to study it. Text 240. Kahite sunite ache pratakala haile Prabhu Srivasera Toshi Alangana Kale. Translation: As the Lord thus requested and Srivas Thakur spoke, the morning appeared, and the Lord embraced Srivas Thakur and satisfied him. So the whole night was just taken in immersion in Vrindavan Leela, inspired by Srivas Thakur's heart in reciprocation with Mahaprabhu sitting in front of him. Mahaprabhu is Krishna and Radha together, so he's immersed in that Vrindavan conception internally, and that's manifesting in the heart of Srivas Thakur. Text 241. Tabe acharya gare kada Krishna lila Rukmini swarupa Prabhu apane haila. Thereafter, a dramatization of Krishna's pastimes was performed in the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya. The Lord personally took the part of Rukmini, the foremost of Krishna's queens. So this is beautifully described by Vrindavan Das Thakur. This whole drama was totally mesmerizing. For it was only Vaishnavas in the audience. Mother Sachi was in the audience. I think it's Lakshmi Priya was in the audience, or Vishnu Priya, I'm not sure which one. And they couldn't recognize Mahaprabhu. And Haridas Thakur was the policeman. And Advaita Acharya was like a narrator. He was in all of the scenes. But Nityananda, all these elevated personalities were taking the roles of different personalities in Krishna's Leela, and just completely, the whole audience is described were weeping and weeping in bliss. So it's a very special pastime, this dramatization of Krishna's pastimes in the house of Chandrasekhar. And Mahaprabhu takes the part of Rukmini. This is exactly the mood of Mahaprabhu now. Mahaprabhu wants to take the part of his most beloved Sri Radhika. But there are two beloveds. There is Chandravali also, and Radha. But Chandravali, her love is of a different nature, this grihasneha, it's different, a mood. But still Mahaprabhu wanted to taste that. Because her love, Chandravali's love for Krishna, is so profound without the slightest bit of... She knows Krishna loves Radhika more than her, but that doesn't diminish her love for him at all. It's very beautiful to consider and appreciate that she knows how much Krishna loves Radha, and she doesn't have that Baumya Bhav that Radha has, very much this Tadiya, I am yours. Yes, this mood of Chandravali. So Rukmini is directly Chandravali in Dwarka. And in Dwarka, Rukmini becomes the queen. This is what the Lalit Madhav is all about. Lalit Madhav by Rupa Goswami is describing this pastime when all of the gopis, they all manifest in Dwarka. Every single gopi, 16,108 queens, they're all manifesting from Vrindavan. They're all gopis. Radharani is Satyabhama. Chandravali is Rukmini. So this is a very wonderful gift that Rupa Goswami has given us of this Lalit Madhav, this description. So text 242. Kabu Durga Lakshmi Hoya Kabu Va Chit Chakti Kate Vasi Bhakta Gane Dila Prema Bhakti. Translation. The Lord sometimes took the part of goddess Durga, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, or the chief potency Yogamaya. Sitting on a cot, he delivered love of God to all the devotees present. So this is before his full Radha Bhav has manifested at Godavari. When he goes to Godavari and meets Ramananda Rai, who is Vishaka, that's when his full potential to taste Radhika's mood manifests at the Godavari. But up until that point, still it's manifesting. These are his later past. This is almost the end of the Adi-lila. So it's his later pastimes in Navadvip. Because at the end of this chapter, he's going to take sannyas. So the way Krishna's Kaviraj is crafting this scripture, he's bringing out in very short terms, just sutra almost, just touching on it, because Vrindavan Das Thakur has spoken about it extensively. Text 243. Eka dino Mahaprabhur nitya avasane Eka brahmani ashi darila charane. One day, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had finished his dancing, a woman, the wife of a brahmana, came there and caught hold of his lotus feet. 244. Charane dharana duli seya loya vara vara dekya prabhur dekya dukhu haila upara. As she took the dust of his lotus feet again and again, the Lord became unlimitedly unhappy. Purport. This holding of a great personality's lotus feet is certainly very good for the person who takes the dust. But this example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's unhappiness indicates that a Vaishnava should not allow anyone to take dust from his feet. One who takes the dust of a great personality's lotus feet transfers his sinful activities to that great personality. Unless the person whose dust is taken is very strong, he must suffer the sinful activities of the person who takes the dust. Therefore, ordinarily, it should be not allowed. Sometimes, in big meetings, people come to take the same advantage by touching our feet, Prabhupada's feet. On account of this, sometimes we have to suffer from some disease. As far as possible, no outsider should be allowed to touch one's feet, to take dust from them. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally showed this by his example, as explained in the next verse. But we see my Gurudev, for example, was very liberal. My Gurudev actually was extraordinarily powerful and potent. He could quite easily absorb millions and billions of people touching his feet. He wasn't affected at all. One time, the devotees asked, "Oh, Gurudev, are you taking people's karma when you initiate them, etc.?" He said, "I don't take anything. I purify their existence. I'm not taking any of their, negativity. Why should I take any of their negativity? He's not touched by any of that. But Prabhupada is saying for youthful followers, in the beginning, when this was written, remember, I told before, in 1974, 1975, when fresh people were just coming off the street. They needed to hear different sorts of instructions. It's not all one. He was speaking to an audience, and these instructions can continue as well right the way through, but at the same time, it doesn't mean it holds fast for forever. But Mahaprabhu himself, about this particular, it was a lady, and he's in the, he doesn't associate with any ladies except his wife. He hasn't even come into the sannyas ashram yet. But we'll see there's another purport here that describes more of it. So text 245. Se shane dana prabhu gangete padila nityananda haridasa dari utahila. Translation: immediately he ran to the river Ganges and jumped in to counteract the sinful activities of that woman. Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur caught him and raised him from the river. Purport: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God himself, but he was playing the part of a preacher. Every preacher should know that being allowed to touch a Vaishnava's feet and take dust may be good for the person who takes it, but it is not good for the person who allows it to be taken. As far as possible, this practice should ordinarily be avoided. Only initiated disciples should be allowed to take this advantage, not others. Those who are full of sinful activities should generally be avoided. So we see that different saints and personalities and acharyas have different conceptions about this, in fact. My Gurudev was very, very liberal, and he allowed even the most sinful people to actually touch it, knowing that this would increase their sukriti. I can remember one time, I was sitting in my Gurudev's room. We were just alone, discussing some publication or something. And I had been thinking about my Gurudev's lotus feet. And he was sitting on the bed, I was sitting on the floor. And suddenly, he stuck his feet out, like for me to look at. And I was just staring at them. But at that time, I was thinking, why is he doing that? I knew he was doing that for for mercy. But there was some reservation in my heart. It's like, something, but still he did like that because he could hear what I desired. And his lotus feet are so beautiful. They're actually spellbinding. 246. Vijaya Acharya Gare Se Ratre Rahila Pratakale Bhakta Sabe Gare Lana Gela. Translation: that night the Lord stayed at the house of Vijay Acharya. In the morning the Lord took all his devotees and returned home. Text 247. Ekadina gopi bhav grihete vishya gopi gopi namalaya vishana kanhana. One day the Lord, in the ecstasy of the gopis, was sitting in his house, very morose in separation. He was calling Gopi Gopi. 248. Ekapadya Aila Prabhuka Daikite Gopi Gopi Namasune Lagila Balite. Translation: a student who came to see the Lord was astonished that the Lord was chanting Gopi Gopi. Thus he spoke as follows. Text 249. Krishna Nama Selai Kena Krishna Nama Danya Gopi Gopi Balile Balile Va Kabi Hoya Punya. Translation: why are you chanting the names Gopi Gopi instead of the holy name of Lord Krishna, which is so glorious? What pious result will you achieve by such chanting? Purport: this is a very important point. It is said, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vignaya Na Bhujiya. No one can understand the activities of a pure devotee. A student or neophyte devotee could not possibly understand why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting the name of the gopis. nor should the student have asked the Lord about the potency of chanting Gopi Gopi. The neophyte student was certainly convinced of the piety of the chanting of Krishna's holy name, but this sort of attitude is also offensive. Dhamma vrata tyage hutadi sarva shubha kriya samyam api pramada. To chant the holy name of Krishna in exchange for the achievement of piety is an offense. Chanting the holy name with the hope of some remuneration is an offense. This, of course, was unknown to the student. Thus, he innocently asked, "What piety is there in chanting the name Gopi?" He did not know that there was no question of piety or impiety. This is the point. Mahaprabhu is just chanting Gopi Gopi. He's not trying to get some pious credit. Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. He's in a mood of bhav, and he's just chanting the name Gopi. The chanting of the holy name of Krishna, or the holy name of Gopi, is on the transcendental platform of loving affairs. Since he was not expert in understanding such transcendental activities, his question was merely impudent. Thus, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, apparently greatly angry at him, reacted as follows. Text 250. Suni Prabhu Krodesh Koila Krishna Doshangara Tenga Lana Utila Prabhu Pudo Dia Maribara. Hearing the foolish student, the Lord became greatly angry and rebuked Lord Krishna in various ways. Taking up a stick, he rose to strike the student. Purport. It is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam that when Uddhav came from Lord Krishna with a message for the gopis, all the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani, denounced Krishna in various ways. So this is what it's comparing to. These are these alpas, jalpas, that we hear in the Brahmara Gita, that ajalpa, vijalpa, sujalpa, sanjalpa, all the different jalpas, they're all abusing Krishna. And Uddhav becomes astonished that someone should be so directly rebuking Krishna. In Uddhav's mind, Krishna is that Supreme Lord. And he's hearing these gopis deride Krishna in a derogatory way. And we understand from Shastra that these words of deriding Krishna are more sweet for Krishna to hear than the reverent hymns of the Vedas. Krishna likes this. There's an expression in the Vidagdha Madhav where Punamasi is describing to Nandimukhi about the nature of love. And she's saying, when Krishna says sweet words to Radhika, Radhika is thinking, oh, or rather when Radhika says sweet words to Krishna, Krishna is thinking, oh, what did I do wrong? He's thinking like that. I must have made some mistake. Yeah, she's being like sarcastic or something. But when she's angry with me, then I'm happy. Then I'm thinking, yes, she's now telling me directly how much she loves me. So like this, it's the opposite in reality. So Mahaprabhu is chanting Gopi Gopi with a mood to be sympathetic towards the gopis. And he's feeling, he's rebuking Krishna in his mind. This is what the translation was. When the foolish student questioned Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the mood of the gopis and the student advocated the cause of Sri Krishna, Lord Chaitanya was greatly angry. Seeing his anger, the foolish student, who was an ordinary atheistic Smarta Brahman, foolishly misjudged him. Thus, he and a party of students were ready to strike the Lord in retaliation. After this incident, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to take sannyas so that people would not commit offenses against him, considering him an ordinary householder, for in India, even now, a sannyasi is naturally offered respect. So this is a very pivotal. Mahaprabhu was going to take sannyas anyway, but this is like the external prompting to do it. He was ready. He was wanting to just immerse himself in the separation moods of Sri Radhika. and he couldn't remain in that environment where he was in Navadvip. He had to go to Puri or go away from there. So this is the catalyst to take Mahaprabhu away, this student offending him. 251. Baye palya paduya prabhu pache pache daya aste vyaste bhakta gane prabhura raya. The student ran away in fear, and the Lord followed him, but somehow or other the devotees checked the Lord. There's always devotees around Mahaprabhu. Somehow or other they just came and they slowed his anger down. Text 252. Prabhure Santa Kari Anila Nijagare Padya Palya Gela Padya So Sabare. Translation. The devotees pacified the Lord and brought him home, and the student ran away to an assembly of other students. Text 253. Paduya Sahasra Yahan Pade Ekatane Prabhura Vritanta Dvija Kahe Tahanyaye. Translation. The Brahmin student ran to a place where 1,000 students were studying together. There he described the incident to them. Purport. In this verse we find the word Dvija, indicating that the student was a Brahmin. Actually, in those days, only members of the Brahmin class became students of Vedic literature. Schooling is meant especially for Brahmanas. Previously, there was no question of schooling for Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or Sudras. It's a very important point that he's making. We should be attentive here. Kshatriyas used to learn the technology of warfare, and Vaishnavas learned business from their fathers or other businessmen. They were not meant to study the Vedas. We see in the schools today, most of the teachings are not about the Vedic teachings. They're all about Sudra teachings or Vaishya business. Economic development is the principal focus. Do well and make a lot of money. At present, however, everyone goes to school and everyone is given the same type of education, although no one knows what the result will be. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada so much wanted to implement this Varnashram Dham. So much he wanted to, that he could see that this is going to revolutionize society. This is going to bring the whole populace, the whole of humanity up to a higher level if this Varnashram could be introduced. But it's Kali Yuga, and Kali Maharaj doesn't want that. And people don't want to follow that, certainly in the Western countries anyway. In India, it's still there present to some degree. Although no one knows what the result will be. The result, however, is most unsatisfactory, as we have seen in the Western countries, especially. The United States has vast educational institutions where everyone is allowed to receive an education, but the result is that most students become like hippies. Prabhupada is so perceptive. He's not mixing any words here. He's saying it directly. You know, the educational system in the Western world is just geared to economic development. Same in India. In India, actually, education has become a business. They make these schools and they make people pay for them to get in, and they indoctrinate the whole populace that the kids, they have to do so many exams. And what's the nature of those exams? They're just learning, you know, by rote. They're not learning by perception or anything like that. It's just like, how do you describe it? Just by numbers, more or less, you know? Just, there's a word for it, I can't think. But it's useless knowledge. Become like hippies. Higher education is not meant for everyone. It's not. The rickshaw driver doesn't have to go to a school. He has to learn how to survive in the world and be polite to people and riding his rickshaw. And this is what they call it democracy. Prabhupada calls it demon crazy. Perfect. changing of the word from democracy to demon crazy. You let the lowest man vote for the government. What does the lowest man just cares about his sugar cost or his tea cost or his food cost. That's all he cares about, his sense gratification. So what qualification does he have to vote for the government? The government is supposed to be beyond that and concerned with the welfare of the whole populace. But Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had such a vision of this. We read in so many places in his books, he's referencing the deplorable degradation of Kali Yuga and how the governments in particular and the scientists are completely like atheistic, and they're not supporting the welfare of the general people at all. They're demons. So it's demon crazy. Higher education is not meant for everyone. Only selected individuals trained in Brahminical culture should be allowed to pursue a higher education. Educational institutions should not aim to teach technology, for a technologist cannot properly be called educated. Just because you know how to crack out a computer and this and that and the other doesn't mean you're educated at all. It means you become more like a robot. You see in China, you know, they're very good at that, you know. A technologist is a Sudra. Only one who studies the Vedas may properly be called a learned man, a Pandit. So we see today who's glorified these people who are concerned with AI, making a big drama about AI. Yes, the biggest revolution at the moment, you know, socially, is this AI art, AI this, AI creativity. And people are thinking that they found some key to happiness. But actually, this is just further degradation of humanity. This is the truth, and Prabhupada brings it out each time. So a technologist is a Sudra. Only one who studies the Vedas may properly be called a learned man, a Pandit. The duty of a Brahmana is to become learned in the Vedic literature and teach the Vedic knowledge to other Brahmanas. So this is traditionally the Gurukul system. And this is what the British, when they ruled here for 200 odd years, they systematically tried to destroy that Gurukul system, which they did. They introduced institutionalized schools to just focus on economic development. And so many of those arts and those high secret truths were actually covered over. They weren't perpetuated because those truths have to be transmitted from the guru to the disciple in the Gurukula system. That's how they learn from the examples. So with the degradation, so we see this is what has happened. So in order to support the welfare of society, then we should know these things and introduce Gurukuls within the Vaishnava community, which is what Prabhupada wanted to do. The duty of a Brahmana is to become learned in the Vedic literature and teach the Vedic knowledge to other Brahmins. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we are simply teaching our students to become fit Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. In our school, he doesn't say they have become, he says become fit Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. In our school at Dallas, the students are learning English and Sanskrit, and through these two languages, they are studying all our books, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita as it is, and the Nectar of Devotion. It is a mistake to educate every student as a technologist. There must be a group of students who become Brahmanas. Without Brahmanas who study the Vedic literature, human society will be entirely chaotic. Why? Because the Brahmanas were renounced from material pleasures. A traditional Brahmana was detached from this world. He would live very simply, just with one cow, support his family, etc. Because simple living and high thinking. This is what Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada coined this expression repeatedly. If we live simply now, without the clutter of too much anxiety about our financial situation, because Krishna, he provides the elephant with everything he wants. How big is the elephant? The elephant doesn't have to have a whole infrastructure to support his body, etc. We don't need, it's called Ugra Karma. All of these unwanted, stupid things. You see every day a new invention is coming, you know, which people can't live without. All of a sudden you can't live without the latest this or the latest that. Little gizmos, you know, crazy. But people are so gullible, so stupid, because of the polluted food, the polluted atmosphere, the polluted sound vibrations. They just get more and more and more stupid day by day. But if we keep this Maha Mantra running through our lives, we stay in touch with the higher consciousness. Text 254. So Mahaprabhu is thinking about this situation with this student. Suni kroda kaile saba podiya gana sabe meli kare tabe prabhura nindana. Translation: hearing of the incident, all the students became greatly angry and joined together in criticizing the Lord. 255. Sabe desha brasta koile ekala nimahi brahmana marite kahe dharma bhaya nahi. Translation: Nimai Pandit alone has spoiled the entire country, they accused. He wants to strike a caste brahmana. He has no fear of religious principles. In those days also, the caste brahmanas were very proud. They were not prepared to accept chastisement, even from a teacher or spiritual master. Text 256. Puneyade achekare mariba tahare kaunava manusa hoya ki karite pare. Translation: if he again performs such an atrocious act, certainly we shall retaliate and strike him in turn. What kind of important man is he that he can check us in this way? This is Krishna's Kaviraj expressing the mood of the brahmanas, caste brahmanas, smarta brahmanas. 257. Prabhure nandiya saba bodhi bada Badi Haila Nasha Supatita Vidya Kari Nahayi Prakasha. When all the students thus resolved, criticizing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their intelligence was spoiled. Thus, although they were learned scholars, because of this offense, the essence of knowledge was not manifested in them. In Bhagavad Gita it is said, Maya prita jnana ashuram bhavam ashritaha. When one becomes inimical to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, adopting an atheistic attitude, asuram bhavam, even if one is a learned scholar, the essence of knowledge does not become manifested in him. In other words, the essence of his knowledge is stolen by the illusory energy of the Lord. This is not man-made knowledge. This is knowledge that is imparted by the divine potency from the original spiritual realm. This knowledge is descending, and if it's descending into a corrupt, it can't enter into corrupt mentality. It can't enter into a sinful. That's that Saraswati article I'm asking you to type up. It's about that. It's coming from the fourth dimension. It can't come from this world. Even if one is a learned scholar, the essence of knowledge does not become manifest in him. In other words, the essence of his knowledge is stolen by the illusory energy of the Lord. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati quotes a mantra from the Svetashvara Upanishad. Yasya Devi para bhakti yata Devi tara goro. Tasyaite kataite hi artita prakashante mahatmanaha. The purport of this verse is that one who is unflinchingly devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu and similarly devoted to the spiritual master with no ulterior motive becomes a master of all knowledge. In the heart of such a devotee, the real essence of the Vedic knowledge becomes manifested. This essence is nothing but surrender unto the personality of Godhead. Vedas chasarve aham eva vedya. Only unto one who fully surrenders to the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord does the essence of Vedic knowledge become manifested, not to anyone else. This same principle is emphasized by Sri Prahlad Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.24. Iti pum sarpita Vishnu bhaktis Chainava Lakshana Karyate Bhavak Adya Tanma Manye Ditam Uttamam. A person who directly applies these 9 principles, hearing, chanting, remembering, etc., in the service of the Lord, is to be understood as a greatly learned man who has assimilated the Vedic literature very well. For the goal of studying the Vedic literature is to understand the supremacy of Lord Sri Krishna. Sridhar Swami confirms in his commentary that first one must surrender to the Supreme Master. Then the process of devotional service will develop. This submission must be there to the higher potency. We are illusioned in this world by our intoxicating pride in trying to exploit sense gratification from this world. And our clever ways of doing it, so to speak. But ultimately, that has to be given up totally, and that submission to the higher quarter has to manifest. That Sharanagat must be there for that mercy to descend. This process is avaroha panta, this descending process, not aroha, not climbing. It is not a fact that only one who diligently pursues an academic career can become a devotee. My Gurudev was very critical when some of the ISKCON devotees, they all started going to university at one time when he was doing his preaching. The leaders, they were taking different courses in university. And my Gurudev was dismissing this. He said, we should all go to the school of Gokishore Das Babaji. This should be our school, this school of Vairagya. Even with no academic career, like Gokishore Das Babaji, if one has full faith in the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he develops in spiritual life and real knowledge of the Vedas. The example is Maharaj Katvanga, confirms this. The example of Maharaj Katvanga confirms this. One who surrenders is understood to have learned the subject matter of the Vedas very nicely. One who adopts this Vedic process of surrender learns devotional service and is certainly successful. One who is very proud, however, is unable to surrender either to the spiritual master or to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, he cannot understand the essence of any Vedic literature. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.11.8 declares, Shabda Brahmani Nashnato Na Nishnyayat Pare Yadi Shramas Tasya Shrama Phalo Hi Adunam Eva Rakshataha. If one is learned in the Vedic literature but is not a devotee of Lord Vishnu, his work is a useless waste of labor, just like the keeping of a cow that does not give milk. So we should try to appreciate our condition of walking around in this material world, and our only purpose in having this human body is to connect with the spiritual reality beyond this world. There is no other purpose to our life at all. There's no other reason to be alive except for this. Not to make any type of reputation or anything in this world at all. And that's where we have to take guidance from the pure devotee. Anyone who does not follow the surrendering process, but is simply interested in an academic career, cannot make any advancement. His profit is only his labor for nothing. If one is expert in the study of the Vedas, but does not surrender to a spiritual master or Vishnu, all his cultivation of knowledge is but a waste of time and labor. So all this is in connection with the Smarta Brahmins that are basically attacking Mahaprabhu. What is the purpose of their knowledge that they're all studying if they can't respect such, even just as a high-class Brahmana like Mahaprabhu? What to speak that he is the Supreme Lord anyway. But even if they don't know that, they should respect him as a great Pandit, because he was Nimai Pandit previously before he took more seriously the practicing of the devotional practices. Text 258.
Tatapi dambika padya namra nahu hoye yahan tahan prabhu ninda hasise karya.
But the proud student community did not become submissive. On the contrary, the students spoke of the incident everywhere and anywhere and everywhere. In a laughing manner, they criticized the Lord. Text 259.
Sarvagyana Goshane Jani Sabara Dugati Karevasi Chinteta Sabara Anyati.
Translation. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being omniscient, could understand the degradation of these students. Thus he sat at home, contemplating how to rescue them. How beautiful. He didn't contemplate how to defeat them. He contemplated how to rescue them. Huh?
His audarya.
Yes, his audarya, his munificence. Text 260. Yata adya paksha are tanra shishya gana dharmi karmi tapa nishta nindaka durjana. Translation. All the so-called professors and scientists and their students generally follow the regulative principles of religion, fruitive activities, and austerities. The Lord thought, yet, at the same time, they are blasphemers and rogues. Purport. Here is a depiction of materialists who have no knowledge of devotional service. They may be very religious and they may work very systematically or perform austerities and penances, but if they blaspheme the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are nothing but rogues. This is confirmed in the Hari Bhakti Shuddhaya. Bhagavat Bhakti Hinasya Jati Shastram Japas Tapa Apanyam Naiva Dehasya Mandanam Loka Ranjanam. If they are without knowledge of devotional service to the Lord, then great nationalism, fruitive, political or social work, science or philosophy are all simply like costly garments decorating a dead body. The only offense of persons adhering to these principles is that they are not devotees. They are always blasphemous towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. Text 261.
Esaba mora ninda aparada hoite amina laile bhakti napare laite.
Translation. If I do not induce them to take to devotional service because of committing the offense of blasphemy, none of these people will be able to take it. Text 262.
Nistarete alamanami hoila viparita esaba durjanera kache ha ibeka hita.
Translation. I have come to deliver all the fallen souls, but now just the opposite has happened. How can these rogues be delivered? How may they be benefited? Text 263.
Amake punatikare hoya papa shaya tabe se ihaye bhakti loya.
Translation. If these rogues offer me obeisances, the reactions of their sinful activities will be nullified. Then, if I induce them, they will take to devotional service. 264. More ninda kare ye na kare namaskare e sabajivera avesha karibe udara. I must certainly deliver all these fallen souls who blaspheme me if they do not offer me obeisances. Attaiva, I'll stop here actually, and we'll read about Mahaprabhu's deciding to take sannyas tomorrow, because this is the conclusion of this pastime. The next verse is describing that he's deciding to take the sannyas order, but we'll save this for tomorrow. So we'll begin tomorrow on verse 265. Somebody was commenting on the YouTube comments that they were listening to this reading of Caitanya Caritamrta and it was saving their life. I want them to know that it's saving my life too. By having the opportunity to read this Caitanya Caritamrta is the greatest fortune I've received, to have this opportunity. So I'm very grateful to be doing this, and happy to hear the comments that others are also satisfied with this. So, Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhaveva Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.